was joined on this very stage by a man who has the very ominous, very awesome nickname, Dr. Doom. Economist Nouriel Roubini earned the name Dr. Doom when he essentially called the Great Recession before it happened. During my interview with him on Monday night, Mr. Roubini said something that economists left, right, and center have been hinting at for a long time now. He said, when you look at the economic policies being advocated by Republicans in Congress right now, things like the bonus tax cuts for rich people and scaled back or eliminated unemployment benefits, he said it's almost like they are trying to tank the economy for political gain. He told us here on this stage, quote, "The worse, the better." As in, the worse the economy is, the better for Republicans in 2012. That statement stuck with me and has been keeping me awake all week. So I decided to call in the services of another economist, Nobel Prize-winning economist Paul Krugman. He's also a columnist for the New York Times. Paul Krugman's here. Hi, Paul. Hi. Good to see you. Good to see you. Hi. Just pretend we're alone. Right. Am I right that the stuff that Republicans are not only fighting hard right now, but really setting themselves to fight in 2012 in the presidential fight, stuff like unemployment benefits, food stamps, that is the most stimulative stuff we can do for the economy?
I was trying to think about a way to describe where we are. You know, we don't have jobs because businesses aren't hiring. Businesses aren't hiring because they don't have sales. Businesses don't have sales because people don't have money. People don't have money because they don't have jobs, right? And what you want is some way that the government is supposed to be breaking that vicious circle. The government, and one of the ways it can do it is by giving money to the people who need it most and are going to spend it, and it helps the whole thing work better. It's not only aid to the people who are unemployed, but it also helps other people and maybe themselves get jobs. So yeah, the things the Republicans are opposing are exactly the things we need right now to get ourselves out of this trap.
When you look at the progress of our economic recovery right now, and there has been a recovery even though we are still in very dire straits. I mean, things are better than they were when President Obama was elected. But we do need more stimulus. How much more do we need? Lots.
I mean, we're way down here. I mean, when the first stimulus was announced, some of us sat down with the numbers and said, this is way short. This is maybe a third of what was needed. And it turns out that actually the economy has done worse than the forecast then said. So another stimulus as big as the one we did is definitely, if you do the arithmetic, it says for sure we ought to be doing that. I mean, yes, in the end, we will have to, find ways to have more revenue and to reduce medical costs. But right now, we really need the government and their spending.
In terms of the deal that was struck between the president and the Republicans, obviously the White House says it was the best they could get. A lot of people feel like they didn't drive a hard enough bargain. They didn't get enough of what they should have. Ultimately, it'll put about $900 billion on the deficit, and it will be some stuff that is expected to be quite stimulative and some stuff that isn't. How much should we worry about the economic impact of financing tax cuts for rich people by putting that on the deficit? Obviously, it won't help, but will it hurt?
If you do it, if it's really just for 2 years, it's not going to matter.
Okay.
The reason to be upset about that is not so much the 2 years that was agreed to of extending these high-end tax cuts as the fact that, we're going to play this whole game again 2 years from now. In fact, we're going to play it 1 year from now because all of the good stuff in that deal expires in 1 year, not 2 years. So we're going to be right over, the blackmail is going to resume exactly a year from now, and there's going to be a demand that Obama extend the Bush tax cuts for another 2 years or another 5 years or maybe forever. And we can't afford that.
That's what I'm worried about in the big pictures. That's why, who cares what Newt Gingrich and Mitt Romney say? Obviously, these guys don't have jobs, right? They don't have power over anything. Right. But they are setting themselves up to run for 2012. And so I feel like what they say gives you some window into how Republicans are going to run. And that's going to put a cast on all Republican politics for the next 2 years. And so are there responsible economists who Republicans believe who will make the case about the need for stimulus, who will make the case that the tax cuts aren't going to help?
No. those people have been driven out or have retreated into silence. I mean, it's amazing. I actually looked back at the Great Depression, at what Republicans were saying during the Great Depression, and boy, did they sound sensible and humane compared to the current crop, right? They would always say, you know, we have to at least support the unemployed. I mean, everybody agrees on that. They might disagree with Roosevelt's policies, but no, this is something where we really have seen all sanity driven from one of our two great political parties.
So when the president and when congressional Democrats, who will control the Senate but not the House, when they sit down to negotiate with Republicans on unemployment benefits and on tax issues, which, as you correctly point out, are going to come up really soon, is the solution that they don't compromise at all, that they do stuff, that they try to get stuff done that isn't done through the Congress? If the middle ground is only worse, then how do they approach it?
It's going to be a hard decision. I mean, it was already a tough one. I was torn, but ultimately thought that the deal that was made was not worth making. But the next deal that's going to be offered is going to be even worse.
Yeah.
And so at some point you have to say no. We're not going to submit to any more hostage taking. The president has some things he can do. He's got, there's still most of the money that was supposed to help homeowners has not been spent. He can try and get that moving. Finally, he can get tough on some of our foreign trade negotiations. The Chinese are part of our problem, not most of it, but part of it. But it's really rough. I mean, that's why, it's been a very good few weeks for the president.
Yeah.
But you think about the next 2 years, and it's extremely frightening.
Is this one of those things, though, where if public opinion gets smarter, that politicians can be moved? If people stop believing stupid stuff about, if we cut the foreign aid budget, we'll get rid of the deficit. Can the public move the politician?
It's a long-term project, I'm afraid. And the noise level is enormous. I mean, you think about how many people, in fact, get their information about the world from Fox News. I mean, it's really, really hard.
I think about it all the time. Yeah. Paul Krugman, Nobel Prize-winning economist, New York Times columnist, and somebody who I'm still really excited whenever you agree to talk to me. Thank you so much. It's great to have you here. Thank you. All right, still ahead, Melissa Harris Perry is here live, about which I have been getting advanced fan mail, I kid you not. And we've got a live installment of Debunction Junction. It's something that is very hard to do live with an audience, so we've made it extra difficult in the expectation and hope that something funny will go wrong with it. We are live at the 92nd Street Y in New York City. Please stay with us.